There exists a practice quiet, ancient, nearly forgotten that echoes like a heartbeat beneath the noise of the modern world. It is not found in textbooks or television, nor is it sold in polished programs or filtered sound bites. It is a thread of light woven through time itself, a key tucked into the folds of your own being. Those who have touched it often speak in riddles, paint in symbols, and walk with an unspoken knowing, because once you engage with it, you do not merely learn, you remember. But why was this practice hidden, even banned? Why was it stripped from temples and torn from sacred texts? Because it was never just a technique, it was a gateway, a breach in the veil. A mirror polished so finely that when you looked into it, you didn't just see your reflection, you saw your essence. And in a world built on forgetting, remembrance is rebellion. This practice is older than religion, deeper than dogma. It is the spiral embedded in ancient stone, the hum beneath sacred chants, the knowing that stirs in your chest when the stars look back at you and whisper, "You are more." To remember your divine purpose is not to adopt a belief, it is to ignite a memory coded into the very geometry of your soul. But most were never taught how to awaken it. Because a human who remembers why they came here cannot be controlled. A soul aligned with its purpose becomes a living vortex, impossible to cage, too radiant to manipulate. And so, this practice was silenced, not with flames or violence, but with distraction, dilution, discrediting. The sacred was turned into spectacle, the mystical into myth. What once opened gateways now gathers dust beneath entertainment and empty ritual. But still, it lives past in whispers, coded into symbols, waiting in the shadows of forgotten temples and within the chambers of your own longing. You see, the great tragedy of our age is not ignorance, it is amnesia. We have not lost our connection to the divine. We have simply forgotten how to hear its voice. And yet, the longing persists, that ache, that holy hunger, the sense that something vital is missing, that you are meant for more than this endless carousel of consumption and confusion. That ache is not a flaw, it is a signal, a calling, an echo from the part of you that has not forgotten. Tonight, we begin the descent, or rather, the ascent, into the ancient remembering. We will unearth the practice that was never meant to be lost, not merely to learn it, but to let it stir you. To let it open the vault of memory that holds your sacred contract, your divine architecture, your reason for incarnating in this very timeline, because you did not come here by accident. You came here with a purpose, and that purpose remembers you. If what I'm saying resonates somewhere deep beneath the intellect, if it stirs something you can't name, yet you know, then I invite you to journey further. Like this message. Subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment if something stirs within you, even if you don't have the words for it yet. This is not entertainment. This is a sacred remembering. To remember your divine purpose is not simply to receive a vision, nor to hear a voice from the clouds declaring your destiny. It is to reclaim a frequency, a harmonic signature that was always there, woven into the soul thread you carry lifetime to lifetime. The band practice, then, is less about doing and more about tuning. It is the inner act of reattuning your being to the truth that has always existed beyond the static of the world. At the heart of this sacred remembrance lies an ancient truth, echoed in Hermetic texts, whispered by the Vedas, veiled within Gnostic fragments, and encrypted into the pyramids themselves. As above, so below. As within, so without. The cosmos and the self are not separate. You are not a speck upon the earth. You are a microcosmic expression of the whole, a universe made flesh. To remember, this is to restore the axis between the human and the divine. But if this is so powerful, so foundational, why is it hidden? Because systems of control feed on disconnection. A humanity that forgets its sacred origin becomes programmable. Once you lose the memory of your cosmic inheritance, you become susceptible to identities imposed from outside. nationality, profession, belief, trauma. You begin to think you are the roles you play, the mask you wear. And slowly, your life becomes a performance in someone else's script. This is not your fault, it is the consequence of forgetting. The band practice is not just a technique, it is an act of reclamation, a defiant remembering. Its roots lie in practices once shared among the mystery schools of Egypt, the oracles of Delphi, the Taoist inner alchemists, and the shamans who walked between worlds. All of them understood that divine purpose is not given to you, it is discovered within you when you silence the noise, align with nature, and surrender to the inner knowing that arises from stillness. The practice involves silence, but not mere quiet. It is a radical listening, a stripping away of the counterfeit voices until only the authentic resonance of the soul remains. It involves breath not simply for oxygen, but as the bridge between spirit and body, the first thing you did upon arrival and the last thing you'll do when you leave. It involves sacred movement, geometry, visualization, and intentional awareness not to impress the divine, but to remember you are it. You are not here to chase purpose as though it were a destination. Divine purpose is not a job, a label, or an ambition. It is a state of being that unfolds naturally when you live in resonance with your true self. And to access that self, you must break the illusion of separation. You must awaken from the hypnosis of fear, scarcity, and survival that has been passed down like a cursed heirloom from generation to generation. The truth is, your divine purpose is encoded into the very fabric of your being. Just as an acorn carries the potential of an oak, you carry within you the entire blueprint of your becoming. The band practice helps you decode that blueprint. It is a conversation with the sacred dimension of you that has never been touched by doubt or distortion. And it speaks, not in words, but in symbols, sensation, synchronicities, and stillness. But here's the key. This practice cannot be forced. It is not about achievement. It is about alignment. It asks for sincerity, humility, and a willingness to shed what is false layer by layer, like a snake shedding old skin. It is not always comfortable, because remembering who you are often begins with grieving who you are not. But on the other side of that, shedding is freedom. On the other side is embodiment. On the other side is you, unfiltered, unmasked, divine. Now, as we go deeper, we must enter the symbolic, the mythic, the poetic language of the soul, because the deeper layers of this practice were always passed through story, symbol, and metaphor, not because they are vague, but because they are multidimensional. There is a reason the ancient ones wrapped truth in riddles. The soul, unlike the mind, does not awaken through logic alone, it stirs when spoken to in the language of symbols, dreams, and archetypes. This is why every sacred tradition, at its heart, is not a list of doctrines but a living mythology, a map encoded in story. And within these stories, the band practice we speak of today was veiled hidden in plain sight, behind dragons, labyrinths, and whispered names of forgotten gods. Let us begin with the myth of the fall, not as sin, but as separation. The moment the soul descends into matter, it forgets its source. It walks into the veil of amnesia, into the desert of confusion. This is echoed in the Egyptian story of Isis, searching for the scattered pieces of Osiris, in the Sumerian tale of Inanna's descent into the underworld, in the Christian allegory of Eden and exile. Each tale, in its essence, speaks to you, the divine being who, through incarnation, was shattered into forgetfulness. The band practice is the way back, the thread through the labyrinth, the golden key, the inner compass. In the Greek myth, it is Ariadne's thread, leading Theseus out of the darkness of the Minotaur's lair. In the Norse cosmology, it is Yggdrasil, the world tree connecting all realms, roots in the underworld, branches in the heavens, trunk in the heart of man. In the Hermetic mysteries, it is the emerald tablet's axiom, that which is below is like that which is above, to perform the miracles of the one thing. These are not stories of entertainment. They are initiation texts, encrypted blueprints for spiritual remembrance. And every symbol they carry points back to the inner sanctuary of the soul. Take, for example, the serpent feared in the West, revered in the East. In Christian lore, it is the tempter. In Kundalini Yoga, it is the coiled life force waiting at the base of the spine, ready to rise and ignite divine remembrance. The Gnostics understood this. They knew the serpent in Eden did not bring death, it brought awakening, knowledge, the return of divine memory. And this is why the practice was banned, because it threatened the order of those who profit from forgetting. Or consider the concept of fire, not merely a physical flame, but the sacred inner fire. The alchemists called it the secret fire, the living intelligence that refines the base metal of the self into gold. It is Prometheus stealing fire from the gods to uplift humanity. It is the Pentecostal tongues of flame descending upon those ready to receive divine inspiration. It is the light of consciousness that flickers in every human heart, waiting to be fanned into brilliance. The banned practice is the act of tending that flame. It is found again in the symbol of the mirror. In many esoteric traditions, the mirror is not just a tool of reflection, it is a portal. To gaze deeply into it is to see beyond the illusion of form, to witness the eternal essence gazing back. This is why, in ancient rituals, initiates were often made to confront themselves in still water, polished obsidian, or mirrored glass, not to see the ego, but to remember the I am. And perhaps the most important symbol of all the labyrinth, a winding, sacred geometry that takes the seeker inward. Every twist and turn, every seeming setback, is part of a greater pattern. You are never lost in the labyrinth. You are being refined. The center of the labyrinth is not a destination, but a state of being. And when you arrive there, not only do you remember, you become. These myths, these symbols, these echoes from the deep, all point toward one central truth. The journey of remembering your divine purpose is not linear, it is spiral. It unfolds in layers, cycles, revelations. And the banned practice is not a single ritual, but a sacred stance, a way of listening, seeing, feeling that reawakens your ancient self through the language of the cosmos. You begin to dream in symbols. You begin to notice the signs. You begin to feel your body responding to rhythms older than time, the phases of the moon, the pulse of the earth, the geometry of breath and heartbeat. You begin to know without needing proof. And in that knowing, purpose is no longer something you seek. It becomes the path you walk with every step, in quiet devotion. The stories you once thought were myth reveal themselves as memory, not of what happened, but of what is eternally present, ever unfolding. What does this mean for the life you live now in a world of glowing screens, relentless clocks, and the hum of machinery masquerading as meaning? It means the sacred was never gone. It was only veiled. It means your purpose is not lost. It is buried beneath habit, beneath fear, beneath the noise you've mistaken for reality. And now, in this moment, something ancient is stirring within you. The forbidden art, this practice of remembrance, was never meant for mountaintops or monasteries alone. It was meant for the streets, the kitchens, the mirror you look into each morning with tired eyes. It begins not in retreat, but in presence. Slow down. Breathe. Not just air awareness. Let your breath carry you back into your body, back into the temple that it is. Every pulse, every cell, every flicker of sensation is a silent hymn. You are not separate from the cosmos, you are its echo, its mirror, its microcosmic flame. Begin each day with a whisper of devotion, not to some god in the sky, but to the divine within. Light a candle with intention. Speak a truth you've been afraid to name. Touch your heart, and remember that it beats with purpose, not accident. Even the dream world is calling. You've forgotten how to listen, but the dreams haven't forgotten how to speak. Each night, as the world quiets, your soul slips past the veil and dances in the symbolic. When you begin to honor those dreams, to ask before sleep, and to receive upon waking, you reactivate the oracle within. Dreams become more than shadows. They become teachers, maps, prophecies. And the symbols, the ancient glyphs, the spirals and serpents, the forgotten signs etched into temples and tombs, they are not art. They are living frequencies. To work with a symbol is to open a doorway. To meditate upon it is to let it etch itself into your energetic field. To carry it is to wear a memory, a spell, a key. This practice, this sacred stance, is not about doing more. It is about being differently. As you begin to walk this path of remembrance, the world will respond. Coincidences will multiply. Synchronicities will sing louder. You'll find yourself in the right place, at the right time, again and again, as if the universe is conspiring with you, not against you. And it is. But with this awakening comes shedding. You may feel the old life start to crumble, the masks, the roles, the identities you wore to survive the forgetting. Let them fall. You are not who you were. You are who you were before and who you are becoming again. Purpose is not a destination. It is a vibration. It is not something you find, it's something you remember, something you embody. It is the tone your soul hums when you stop trying to be what the world demanded and start allowing what the soul knows. And when that happens, when you move through this world as a vessel of remembrance, something shifts. People notice, even if they don't know why. You walk into a room and the frequency changes. You speak, and people feel rather than hear. You live, and life itself begins to echo your purpose back to you. You are no longer merely surviving. You are emanating. A myth reborn. A purpose reawakened. A soul that refused to stay asleep. We've now reached the close of this journey, and the main point is simple. You are not broken, and you were never truly lost. What you may have experienced as confusion or disconnection was actually part of a larger process, a necessary forgetting that occurs so that genuine remembering can happen. This is not just a philosophical idea, but a deep truth about human consciousness and transformation. The idea of a banned practice isn't about something hidden in ancient texts or locked away in secret societies. It's about the deliberate suppression of inner knowing, the quiet discouragement, over generations, of people connecting with their deeper purpose. And yet, that purpose has never left you. It's part of who you are. This inner sense of calling, this need to remember who you truly are, isn't some abstract spiritual concept. It's something many people feel, an intuitive sense that life holds more meaning than we've been told. That sense is real, and following it is what allows transformation to happen. You don't need to adopt a specific belief system or follow a rigid spiritual routine. What's important is that you become more conscious of yourself, of your thoughts, your patterns, your energy, and your values. That awareness, applied consistently in your everyday life, is how remembering begins. This process of remembering changes how you see yourself, how you relate to others, and how you make choices. You start to realize that your presence matters not in some exaggerated or grandiose way, but in a grounded, practical way. The way you show up in daily life can either contribute to the collective unconscious or to collective awakening. The world doesn't need more people following rules out of fear. It needs more people living from inner clarity. When you begin to live with that clarity, you become an example. Others feel it. And often, just by being around you, they begin to remember something about themselves too. The point of all of this is to come back to yourself not as a performance, but as a commitment. This is your life, and every moment is a chance to align more deeply with who you really are. If anything in this video helped you connect with that, if it brought something to the surface that felt honest and important, then take it seriously. Reflect on it. Write about it. Talk about it. Let it shape your actions. And if this message spoke to something in you, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. Let others know they're not alone in their journey. Subscribe if you want to continue exploring these topics, and consider sharing this with someone who might benefit from it. This is how we move forward by remembering together.